Um, I was explaining about file extensions. As a developer or as aspiring developer, it's very, very important to be able to access the file extensions. And I'll say that file extensions, they help the operating system to know how it should treat that particular file. So by default, when they make these computers, they know most people, they are not programmers. So what they do, by default, they hide these file extensions. Why? Because they don't want the user to tamper with the file extension when they are renaming their files, and then the whole file gets corrupted. So, but as a developer, you will need to do what? To be able to access those file extensions, because you're the one who's going now to start creating these softwares. So, let us look at, for example, file extension examples. We have things like .mp3. .mp3 will tell a computer that this is a what? It is an audio file or a song file. .mp4 it will tell a computer that this is a what? Is a video file. .jpg, .pdf, .jpeg, .png, so you can now relate what is meant by what? By file extensions. So when you're writing a programming language, the file extension part will be important, so that the compiler of that programming language can know that it's really compiling a file that is made for it, or that is made in the programming language of it. Now, for example, if you cannot access the file extension, for example, you can see this is an MP3 file in my laptop. So we begin with the name followed with the file extension. So if I had not set my computer to start showing file extension, I couldn't be seeing it right now. So if you cannot access your file extensions, if you just only access the name, you can go ahead and set this file extension to be visible. So if you're on Windows, you go to view, you go on top where there is view, then you click on folder options, and then you click on then you see a tick where hide file extension. You uncheck it, then you'll be able to see the file extension. Or you can just simply come and search here and hide file extensions Windows. Okay, so when you do like that, you will see that's simple steps. You see a certain result that will take you step by step of how you can set your file extensions to be visible. If you want to do the same on Mac, just simply change this word to what? To Mac. You will see the step by step of how you can make the file extensions visible. So that will be almost the first step that has made your computer, or has made you to become a programmer, to be able to work with what? With file extensions. So now once you've made the file extension visible, so it means that now we are going to start now creating our own programming languages. Remember, it began by creating the folder. So I'm going now to create my first programming language. Okay, so organizing your projects is very, very much crucial. So these are the good practices I'm going to be sharing with you, so that you should borrow them. So organizing your project, organizing your files is very, very crucial in programming. Otherwise, if you don't organize the way you name your files, the way you arrange your files, the way you arrange your folders in your project, when you start making huge projects, you'll find it so much painful to know where and to know the meaning of, or to know the destination of a certain file that you may be wanting to access. So another thing, for example, right now we're going to learn how to practice. We're going to practice that programming. So later you may want to come back to these pieces of code that you've written, or that you write today. So you should be knowing where you started from, where you come to next, and so that's why organizing will be important. Or if another person wants to use your code, maybe to learn, maybe your young brother one day want to learn, and you give him your source code, he should be knowing where you start from and where you ended from. So being able to trace that path, I always name the files of what I write with the numbers. Likewise, when you proceed to making projects of Flutter, you'll see how I'll be organizing my folders, also in a strategic way that can become even simpler for another developer to contribute to my project. So I'm going to go ahead and create my first file that's going to have our introduction. Okay, so right click here. So to create a file, remember I've already opened the folder here. So there's a shortcut here that you can click on, and then we will create a file, or simply right click on the folder and say new file. So I can say 1. So am I putting 1? Because later I want to know where I started from. So if I don't number them like this, I may become confused later. So I just put 1 underscore maybe introduction, introduction dot DART. So why do I put .dat? Because it's a programming language that I'm going to write. So those who have write PHP, we put .php. Those who write Java, we put .java. Those who write C#, we put .cs, something like that. So in that programming language, you put .dart, that's the file extension, and press enter. So if you had not set your file extension to be visible, right now this file extension will be visible, and then you just see only the name of the file, and you cannot be able to modify that, which is really kind of painful. So after writing my first file there, now I'm going to write a program that is going to be executed by what? By the Dart programming language. So I already prepared something here. So what you should know, when you're writing a Dart programming language, the Dart compiler, what will do first, it is just like C programming language if you've ever done C. The Dart will look for a main function. You may not be understanding the meaning of functions, but as we proceed, you understand really what is meant by function. But for now, just know there is something called function. So when we proceed, I'll explain what is meant by function and you'll understand it properly. But for now, you have to memorize, just know there's something called function. So when that operating system, when that SDK or compiler, what you call compiler, starts running your file, it will look for the function with the word, for the function that is named main. So if the main function is not in the file that you want to run for that programming language, that file will not be executed. So now I'm going to write my first programming language. So to write my first program in that, I want to give you these basics so that when you be writing in Flutter, you're not just mediocre, you don't know what you're doing, you're just guessing. No. I want you to understand these things from basics, even though you are also experienced in that, in Flutter programming language. In Flutter, most of the people, they just begin from YouTube, from practicals, creating buttons, what and what, yet they don't understand the basics. But it's very good to build these foundations so that when you start creating the apps now, you know what is meant by everything that you're doing. So now we're going to create our function, as we said. So you have to begin with the main function. So this main function will return void, or can return integer, int, and then give the function a name, say main, and then open bracket and close it. So if you're using IDE, that's the word I was looking for. If you're using IDE, like this SDK, Visual Studio Code, it will help you to autocomplete code. As you can see, when I open bracket, automatically it will know I will need to close it. But if you edit this one with a plain text editor, you will not be able to get such kind of important features. So I open bracket and close it, and then I open the curly brackets and close it, and then I return 1. I return 0. Okay? So I'm going to explain, if you're new here, if you're new in programming, I'm going to explain everything here. You just need to be calm. So this is our very first program, okay? It is going to return integer and then begin the word main, and then you open bracket and then open curly bracket and then return 0. So what does it mean? It means that when that SDK or that operator, that compiler start compiling this application or running this application, executing this application, SDK, it will call this function, and then this function will begin from this curly bracket and ends from here. So between this is where we're going to write our what? Our programming language, our logic for our application. Okay, so if we run this application right now, it will not show anything. Why? Because it will not display anything. So now, why do we return 0? We return 0 to tell the operating system that we have completed running this software successfully. Otherwise, if it does not return 0, then the operating system may flag and say that this software was not run successfully. So let's go ahead and write our first program. We have already writing it and display something. Okay, so I'm going to display hello world. So I'll simply write print. So in that, to display something in console, we use a function called print. You call a function called print, then you open bracket, and between it you pass the double quotes or quotes. Okay, so you see when I open quotes, they automatically close themselves, and then between there you put what you want to be displayed, what you want to display in the console. So I can say hello world, then I put a semicolon. So at the end of every line of that programming language, always put a what? A semicolon. So the use of this program is to display the word hello world in the console. So I've completed writing my program. So the next thing is to run the program. So how do you run a Dart program? So to run that program, first of all, you should have that configured in your laptop or in your computer, as I showed you, and I'll share the video that shows you how you can step by step configure your Dart programming language. So have your Dart configured in your computer. The next thing, you go to your terminal. So your terminal, it can be external terminal, it can be external terminal, or it can be the inbuilt terminal. You should know that Visual Studio Code, it ships or it comes with what? With its own integrated terminal. So if you want to run a certain command, you may not need to go again and open the terminal outside. You may run it from here. So I'm going to show you how you can open a terminal from here. Okay, let's begin the other way, running from the maybe outside terminal. So if you're using Windows or anything, go ahead and open the terminal. On Windows we call it CMD, command line, okay? But on Mac we call it terminal. So open your terminal and to look like this. So this is my terminal, okay? So I'm going to show you basic things that you will need to know as a programmer. One of the things that you need to know as a programmer is navigating through different folders using the terminal. That is very, very, very important. For example, you need to know where, first of all, this terminal has opened. Where am I at this time? So if you want to know where you are at this time, I hope you have somewhere to note. You just simply write write PWD. Okay, PWD. I don't know the abbreviation of it, but if you search it, I think you can get it. So PWD will give you the path of the directory, path with the directory, I don't know. So the point is, PWD will give you the path of where you are at this moment, or in which directory you are in. So you write PWD and press enter on either Windows or Mac, it will tell you where you are. So you see, I'm under users, under Mac. So likewise, in Windows, you can be in disk C, maybe on desktop, something like that. It will tell you where you are exactly. So that is very important terminal. Note it down, okay? So, I mean, it's a very important command. You should note it down and know it. Now, the next thing, you may need to know which folders are in these particular directories, that the particular directory that I'm in. To know the folder to know the folders or the files that are in the directory that you're in, just simply write ls, then it will list all the files and folders that you're in. So you can see these are the folders that I'm in. Okay, so I can now tell. Likewise to Windows, the same thing. Now, you still remember where I saved my what? Where I saved my program or my dat file, okay? Yeah, I saved it on desktop. So what do I need to do right now? I need to navigate to where it is, and it is on desktop. So to navigate to desktop, you just simply write cd. cd means change directory. So you say cd and then write desktop as it is. Desktop, if it starts with capital letter, begins with a capital letter. So if you write like 3 letters of a certain directory that you want to go to, you can just simply press the tab key, and then the operating system will help you to complete it. So when you press enter, now we are inside desktop. If I write now pwd, you see, I'm now inside desktop. I hope you guys are getting it. Are you following? Shouldn't be teaching myself. Guys.
Yes, we are following.
Okay, that is good, sir. Okay, so that's good if you're following. I want to be kind of complete so that everyone should not be left behind. So right now I'm in desktop. So if I get right ls, of course, I'll now see the folder that I want in desktop. But I know the specific folder that I want is learn dat, this one, okay? So I can copy it. So if you want to clear screen on Windows, you just write cls. cls, it will clear your screen. On Ubuntu, you press Ctrl and L, it will clear your screen. On Mac, you press Ctrl and K, it will clear your screen. So now I've cleared my screen, but I'm still in the same path. So I want to change my directory to the folder of where I am. So it's going to be cd, and then I paste the directory name, which is learn dash dash. That's the folder that we created ourselves. So when I do like that, I write pwd, so I'll be able to see the folder that I'm in. If I write ls, you see, I'll be able to see the file that I just created. So that's beautiful, and that's how we navigate through files in using terminal. Folders. If you want to go back, you just simply say cd dash dash, and then you flash the backslash like this. Then it will take you to the outside folder. Now, we are now in this folder, and we have successfully accessed this file. The next thing, we now need to run that file, because in that file we have written some pieces of code, that we need to do what? To execute. So to execute that piece of code, you just simply write dat. Remember, I've already configured this dat. Then after writing that, then write that particular piece of code. The name of file. Okay, the name of file. The name of file is one_intro.dat. Okay, so when I press enter, the dat SDK is going to run this particular file. So when I press enter, you can see hello world. Boom. That's beautiful. So it means that we can now be able to do what? To execute the file. A file of that programming language. So that becomes the first step to get started with that programming language. Now, it's really nice, and that's good to get started, okay? So, I may not guarantee that it's going to be as simple as I've shown, but I promise you it is possible, and you can really do it. So just have your guts, put your energy together, even though it takes you like 5 hours of achieving what I've just done. Please give it your best, because once you do it, then you'll know it forever. And in coming time, then you'll know what next, and then you start earning. Some it can take like 10 minutes to reach this level, others 2 minutes, others 1 hour, others 10 hours, others 1 full day while you're figuring out how to reach here. So whatever it takes, just be ready to face it, but don't give up because it's not magic. When you're really stuck, contact us, we will help you. It's not magic, so see, it is really possible. So now I've successfully run my first program in that programming language. So now what next? So after doing that, by the way, that is how we run using a main terminal or the external terminal. Another thing I see that we Visual Studio Code ships it ships with it ships self with what? With inbuilt terminal that is integrated with the operating system. So in case you don't want to go this external terminal, you can just simply open the terminal with Visual Studio Code by just simply clicking here on top and see terminal, say new terminal, and then you'll be able to access the terminal from here. So whatever we did here, you can as well do it from here. You can collapse it and you can expand it. Okay, you can collapse it and you can expand it here. Okay, so the shortcut of opening a terminal is you just simply press Ctrl Shift and the tilde. Do you know tilde? That kind of this one. Let me write for you a tilde. This is what you call a tilde. That it's like an apostrophe. It is in front of one. It is in front of one, but it's not an apostrophe. So that's what you call a what? A tilde. So to open a terminal by shortcut, just press Ctrl Shift tilde. Then it will open for you the what? The new terminal. So if you want to resume the previous terminal, just press Ctrl and the tilde. It will resume the terminal. Or if you're not a person of shortcuts, though they are recommended, still you can come to what? To terminal, to the interface here and click on new terminal. You'll be able to do what? To see the terminal. So I will clear my terminal by pressing Ctrl and K. Okay? For Windows, CLS. Now, I want to know now the path that I'm in. So the beauty of opening a terminal, your terminal with Visual Studio Code is it will take you exactly the folder that you have opened. So you don't need to do that CD this, CD that. So if I write pwd, I'll be able to see I'll be able to see that I am in a very folder that I opened. So if I write ls, so I don't need to do again the wcd whatever. So if I now need to run this file, what will I do? I'll just write that and then put one underscore intro, then you press the tab key, it will automatically complete. Then when you press enter, you'll see I'll achieve the same thing that I achieved in the what? The main terminal. But here with Visual Studio Code, it seems to be very simple for you and you don't need to open another software. So from here you can again collapse, expand, like this, like you don't need again to get distracted by going to another terminal. So that is how we write our program in what? In that. So let us proceed. I hope there's no question before we proceed. Now we're going to proceed now to real programming of that. But let me first listen if there is anyone who may want to ask something or comment. Students, you can just open your microphone. Let me see if there's. Okay, anyone who has anything to say? Students, who has any kind of question or any comment before we proceed? Are we good? Okay, at least say we are okay. I don't want to do the proxy attendance. Someone will join and then go. We are also our students. I call it proxy. Okay, can someone put in the chat if we are really good? Like we are not totally lost. We may not get the procedures, but getting the concept. Like, are you understanding the concept? Let me see. Put in the chat and I see. Are we together, guys? We are okay. Yeah, so far not bad. Okay, that's beautiful. Great. Okay. That's great. Okay. The feedback is good and we are so on track. So as I repeat, like you may not understand the whole thing from here, but the main point here is for you to get the concept, the steps that you need to take. That's the one that you need to understand. But doing the real things, the answers is on internet. You'll search everything and get all the solutions there and all the help. Okay, so let's proceed. We're remaining half an hour, so let's proceed to real now programming. Now, what if you want to display your name? And if you want to display your name, so if you want to display your name, instead of putting hello world, you can say hello Mohindo, so you can start playing that. And that is so basic, so it can inspire you. So you can see my file has saved. By the way, you can see making the next, like after you've run for the first time. If you want to run the next time, just expand your terminal, which is Ctrl and the tilde button, and then press the arrow key that faces on top to bring your previous command. Then press enter. You'll be able to execute the file. So that is how we run the that programming language files. So now let's proceed now to real programming. So if you are new, totally new, this the programming journey begins exactly from here. If you're already pro, this is just kind of revision. So now we are going to look at what we call variables. So what is variable? I may not define it exactly as how it is in the dictionary, but I'm going to define it in vernacular so that you should understand immediately exactly what is meant. Okay? So a variable is how should I call it? Is a space. I mean, is a way how we can create a temporary space on the computer's memory and we access it later, or we make it, we use it later. So that's how we call a variable. You know, most of the time you're going to deal with data. So data will need to be stored somewhere in the computer so that you can start manipulating. For example, if you make a calculator, it will need to add one number on the other number. So when you perform these two, those numbers might be temporarily kept somewhere, and then you perform the addition and then give the results. So what does it mean? It means that you have to be able to create something and store it somewhere, and you can access it later. So that's what we call variable. I'll share the notes. I think I prepared even notes. I'll share with you detailed information about the variable. So we are going to see now how we can do it, how we can create variables in that programming language. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create another another file. By the way, that's how I arrange my projects, so that I can be able to know I did this particular topic in this particular file, and this particular topic in this particular file. Like that, like that, like that. Likewise, so that any other person who may need to learn from me, he can know these things. I can be able to follow along with simplicity. So I'm going to create another file for variables. So to create another file, I can just simply come here, right click, and say new file. But since this in the next file we're going again to create the main function, I may save as. So saving as will help you. So those are the techniques that you'll need as a programmer, by the way. Saving as will help you to create the same file but in a different instance. So it will just kind of duplicate that file with a different name. So to save as in Visual Studio Code, just simply come to file and say save as. It will create another file for you with a name that you want. A shortcut for saving as, you can write it down, is Ctrl-Shift-S. On Mac is Command-Shift-S, okay? So I'm going to rename this file as do, and then remove this guy and make it variables. Okay? Variables, okay? Variables.dat. Don't forget our extension is very important. So when I press enter, you'll see now I have two files. But on the other side, you can as well go ahead and create totally fresh file which is okay also. So I have now two files, one for the intro, another one for the variables. So in this one, we are going to now practice variables. So now I'll delete this guy, and then we'll have our main function here. Now, how can we use variables? As we said, we use them to store information, and then we access it later to make use of it. So I'm going to create my first variable, store there something, another variable, store there something, and use it. So how do you do that? By creating a variable. So you define a variable first. So to define a variable, you just simply write var in that, and then you give this variable a name. So it will need a name because you need to access it. So name, I can call it name, and I say name there, okay, like that, and then I open the double quotes and I say there something, okay. So I can call my name inside these quotes. I can put my name is Team John Bosco. And then after I create another variable called var, and then I put age, and I put 24, and I put a semicolon. Okay, so those are my two variables there. Okay, I can put maybe another variable. I put district, and I put maybe Kasese. Semicolon. So those are three variables. We have put them there. So if you run this application right now, it will not show anything, though we have put there some information. Why will it not show anything? It will not show anything because we have not commanded it to display something. Okay? So note that everything that is in the software will be displayed. It will display on a condition that you you tell it to display. So I'm going to display this data. So it means that I've defined this data and store it in these memories, and I'm going to see how I can access them and make use of them. To do that, I'll simply come here on the bottom. Of course, you cannot use data before you define it. And then say print, okay, open bracket, put double quotes like this. Now, in that programming language, if you want to access a variable inside the quotes, or inside the quotes, what we call concatenating in PHP. Those who are doing, who have done PHP. If it was PHP, you could do something like this. I know it's not allowed. You could do something like this. X is equal to this. And then you say y equals to that. And then maybe you concatenate by saying x, y equals y dot, like that. And then you put dot. So in Flutter, we don't do that in that way. There are two ways you can do it. So one of the way is the one that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to make this variable that we have defined here I'm going to make them make sense. So I'm going to come here and open my brackets and say my name is, and then I'm going to substitute here with the name, and I put comma, I am dash years old, and then comma, I come from the district will be subset here. So that's what I mean by variable. You'll make one software, but it's going to be used by 20,000 people. So what does that mean? It means that not every 20,000 people write for them their own piece of code. It means that the same line will be used to be substituted with the respective information of people. So now I'm going to change this one, the variable. So if I substitute something here in that programming language using variable, just simply put a $sign and then open the curly bracket like this, and then put the variable name. So this means I'm telling this to wait. So the whole point is $sign and then open bracket like this, and then put the what you want. So that will be substituted here. That's how I did it in that. Okay. So I'm going to put here my age. So $sign, curly bracket, and put age. You don't need. That's how you do it in that. and then here I come from, and then I put the district here. $, curve bracket, and then district. Like this. So that means I can collapse this one, by the way, if I want enough space. You can do like this. You can toggle this to make more space. So what does that mean? It means that my name will be substituted here, the age will be substituted here, and then the this will be substituted here. So let's go ahead and run this file and see if it works as how we expect it to do. So I'll go ahead and expand my terminal, Ctrl and the tilde button, and then clear the terminal on Mac, Ctrl K, on Windows, CLS. Then after clearing the terminal, I'm going to run this particular data of variables. So the particular file of variables. So I'll just simply write dot space 2 underscore, and then press the tab key to autocomplete the name of the file. So it's going to run for me that file of variables. So when I press enter to process, and you see everything is beautiful. My name is Tim John Bosco. I am 24 years old. I come from Kasese. So that's it, and it's really beautiful and simple. So after learning that, then you know this is now under my belt. Now what next? In fact, in programming every day is what next, what next, what next. Even me until now, I'm still looking for what next. And you reach a point, you now start making money as you're asking for what next. So you make money as you're working. So every day keep on upgrading as you're making money. So now we are at this level. Now the question is, now I've understood what's meant by variable, how can I make use of variables. The question is now what next? So I'll hope that we are still together. I hope that you're not confused yet, though you may be confused in future. Okay, I hope you are together. Can anyone put in the chat that we are together so we proceed? Okay, they know the feedback is we are together. Okay, that is beautiful. Okay, so don't worry, we're gonna finish. I know it's boring, learning is boring. We're gonna finish the remaining with 20 minutes. Learning is very boring. You can't listen to music when you're learning, you know. So it's boring, but it pays, It pays. So let's go ahead and go to the next topic, okay? So I've understood what's meant by variables and how we can make use of variables. So we proceed to the next thing, which is operators. So I will share the notes, don't worry. I'll share the notes. I've already prepared them, but I'll share them. So this time we're doing freestyle practicals, okay? Then the notes, videos will come, so that we can save everyone's time. So let us look at what is meant by operators. So an operator is, should I call it something? The real definition will come in the notes, but an operator is what will help us to do operation, is a feature that will help us to do mathematical operations, okay? Or that will help us to do operations. I'll share the notes later. I'll share the notes, don't worry. But in case you want to do, let's say, a logical operation, you want to compare two words with the other. I mean, you want to compare two variables, one with the other. You need what we call an operator. You want to compare, you want to do a mathematical operation like adding two numbers. That's what we call operator. I'll share the notes that has all the operators that are in that programming language. The one that we use for comparing, for example, comparison operators. We have less than, we have greater than, less than or equal to, whether not equal to, not equal to, those ones for comparison. All of them I'll share. Then we have these ones that we use to perform mathematical operations, like plus, minus, a remainder, what we call finite, multiplication, and division. Those are mathematical operators I will also share with them, and you know what they meant. Then, there are also other operations which we call assignment operators. For example, the equal sign. For example, adding on something that's already existing. Okay. Maybe subtracting on something that is already existing. All those kind of operators, I'll share with you. Now, we are going to look at different operators, okay, that we can use. But some of operators, they will make sense when we proceed. For example, comparison operators, all you have to know, you should know that they exist and they are supported. But we will demonstrate them when we reach condition or decision making topic. That's when we'll demonstrate those ones. So for now, we're going to demonstrate addition, multiplication, division, subtraction, remainder. Those ones, the basic operators, mathematical operators. So let's go ahead and create another file for operators. So I'll just simply say new file, and I'll call it file number 3 _ operators dot dash. Don't forget the extension. So that's it. Then after doing that, I'm going to create a main function, int main, open bracket, curly bracket, return 0. So there you go. Now, operators. So it means that we need to create at least 2 variables that we may need to do some data types. So I'm going to create integer variables. Right now you might not be knowing what is meant by integer, but when we proceed to the next topic, I'm going to introduce to you what we call data types. And in those data types, it is where we will look at different data types like integers, strings, and the rest, arrays, and the rest. So right now, let's begin with something called integer. Integer is something that, just like the way it sounds. Okay, integer is something that you can use to store numerical value. So I can say int x equals to 20, okay, 2, and then say int y equals to 3. Okay, so I want to add this. Okay, so if I want to add this, I can say now int maybe z equals to 0. Now I want to add these 3 and then display the answer. So I want to perform a mathematical operation and display the answer. So to do that, I can just simply say z equals to, so this is the assignment operator, equals to x plus y. So what does this mean? It means it's going to get x and add it to y, or it's going to get y and add it to x, and then store the answer into z. Okay, but as I said, this will not display anything. Why? Because we have not commanded it to display something. So let's go ahead and display these ones. So to display them, we'll just simply say print, and then open bracket, put the double quotes, and then say $, double quotes, and put x, and then for the help of the user, to show the user this is addition, I can put here a plus. But we know this is not addition, this is just a character. We are just using it to display. The real addition was made here. So x plus y equals the value of z. By the way, if it is one variable, if it's just one variable that is not in an object, you can use just a $sign and the variable name without even putting curly brackets. That is something that you should also know. So what is this going to show us? It's going to show us the value of x and the plus character, then the value of y, and then the equal sign character, and then the value of z. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this piece of file. I'll expand the terminal, clear my screen, and then say dot, and then say 3 underscore and press the tab key and press enter. So you can see 2 plus 3 equals to 5. So that is great, and it means that we can now do some mathematical operation or some mathematical logic. So other operation is a minus. So if you put here minus and put here minus, okay, so you can go ahead and, so others are self-explanatory. You can see 2 minus 5 minus 3 equals to -1. So you can play around with the multiplication, which is the asterisk or the star. So if you put there a star, it will do the multiplication part of it. So we have other interesting operators like adding a value in itself. For example, let me comment this one. By the way, there's something called commenting. Commenting means that you don't want that particular piece of line or piece of code to do any action in your program, but you still need it there. For example, I may share with you this piece of code, but I don't want to wrap, but I don't want to execute also those pieces of code. So I can do like this, $sign to comment. Two forward slashes to comment. If you want to comment a block or a big piece of code, you just simply put where the comment starts from, put forward slash and a star, and then come to where you want the comment to stop from, and put a star and then a forward slash. Then everything between that, it will not do any action into your piece of code, into your code, or into your software, or into your program. Okay? Now let's go ahead and show you some other interesting operators. For example, I can say int a equals to 20. Okay, so I can go a equals to 2. Okay, so I can simply go ahead and say let us print here. I'm going to be faster here. Print a. So what does it mean? This is going to display just a. Okay, so the value of a, which is 2. So now we have what we call increment operators. So increment operators, increment and decrement operators, it will either add 1 or reduce 1 on it. So if I say a plus plus, so what does that mean? It's going to display 3 because I've just incremented 1 on this a by saying a plus plus. So if I say a, let me comment this guy here, and I come and say a minus minus. So minus minus means I'm going to reduce this a by 1 on the current value. So if I come and run it, you see it is 1. So 2 minus 1, it is 1. So those are what we call incremental and decremental operators. So have other operators such as the operators you can use to coordinate at the same time. So you can say self-assigning operators. So you can say a, for example, if I want to add 3 on this a, if you are an amateur, if you are a beginner, if I say add 3 on a, what you will do, you just simply say a equals to a itself plus what? Plus 3. Okay? And then of course you say I'll have achieved it. Of course that is of course it's an achievement, but you'll have written much more than what you expected. But the better way of doing such an operation, you can achieve it in this way by just simply saying plus equal to 3. So this self-assigning operators, it will get 3 and add it on the a itself and do what? And then we display it here. I hope you're getting the point here. So this one is going to achieve us to give us the same result as this one could have given us. So if I come and run, you see, it's also 5. And this one is the better way, which has the better algorithm that will save time and space and memory. Then this is very, 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 very small saving, but it is recommended to use good practices. So instead of repeating yourself like this, you can as well do it in this way, and it will save your time. So it is plus equal to, what it will do, it will add, it will get the value that is stored in that particular integer and add this new value in itself. So I can as well do another one, which is minus. Okay, minus equal to. So what will it do? It will reduce mine on that value. So if I put equal to, okay, so you see minus 1. So here it's just like reducing a 3 on the 2 that is being stored here. Okay, that's it. Now let us look at one more operator for mathematical operator. So it is the one for finding the finite. That is also very important. When you reach at a certain level of programming, you may need to get a number that is not above a certain number. So there you need to use what? Finite. So if you want to use finite in that programming language, for example, if you have maybe m equals to 101, and you want to get, int m equals to 101, and you want to get the finite of 100 to m. So what you will do, you just simply say int n equals to, by the way, you can as well perform the operation when you are signing it in the same line, equals to m, then you put a percentage. Okay, so percentage will do the finite operation. So it's going to get the remainder of dividing 100 to 100. Okay, so of course we are going to expect what? 1. So it go to this 100 and divide it here, and the remainder was 1. So if maybe I put 3, so maybe finite 3, it can be hard to compute from head. So see, 101 divided by 3, the remainder will be 2, something like that. So this, we use percentage to do the what? To do the finite, or to find the modulus. Okay, or to find the remainder of a number to the other number. So I hope we have understood this basic mathematical operation. We proceed to the next before I get your feedback. So we are going to the loops. So loops are very, very important in programming. So I request all of you to be attentive here, so that you should understand these loops, because you'll need them. There is no way you can write a program almost without a loop. At least somewhere you'll need to loop. Okay, we have if conditions and loop. Those are very, very important. Very important parts. So what is a loop? A loop is an operation in a programming language that will help us to execute a certain piece of code repetitively until a certain condition is reached. For example, if they ask you to write 1,000 lines of code, or to display your name 1,000 times. If you're an amateur, what you do, you write the word printf your name 1,000 times, and that is painful. So, and we say, okay, now you change it and change another name. So you'll have to again repeat. So to do that, to solve that problem or such kind of a scenario, you use what we call loops. Loops will help you to execute a certain piece of code as much as you want until you want it to stop. So we have different types of loops in that programming language. The first one is called the for loop. For loop will help us to be executed until a certain condition is reached. For loop. The other type of a loop is called while loop. While loop, it will execute a certain piece of code as long as a certain condition is still true. And then we have another kind of another type of loop which is called do while loop. Do while loop, it will first do, so whether the condition was true or not, it will first run the piece of code, and then then check the condition. Okay, so let us look at a for loop in that programming language. Don't worry, we'll reach flatter, but let's first build the foundation very well. So don't be bored. It's part of process. And they say, trust the what? Trust the process. Okay, let's go ahead and create a new file of what? Of loops for underscore for what? For loop. Okay, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and create our function int main open bracket, close it, and then say return what? Return 0. Okay. So there we go. Now let's begin with for loop. So there's a structure that we follow when you're writing a for loop. So let me show it to you. So we want to display the word the Muhozi 100 times. So let's go ahead and do that. We just simply say for open bracket and close it, and then say int. Okay. Then here you define your variable. It can be I equals to 0. And then this for loop will have 3 main sections. The first one is where the definition of a variable, as you can see. Then you put a semicolon. Then you create another section, the one for checking if the condition has been reached or not. So you can say then you go ahead and write the second section, which is I is less than 100. So we're going to print the word Muhozi 100 times. Then put a semicolon and then put I plus plus. So this is the section where the increment section where it will be repeated every time the loop is done is being executed. Then I open curly bracket and I put here. So between this curly bracket is where I'm going to put my piece of code that I want to be repeated. Okay. So to do that, so here it will initialize, here it will check the condition. So when this will reach 101 is not equal to 99, to 100. It is greater than 900, 100. So it will stop because the condition will be slow. It will be false. So I'm going to go ahead and print. So I can put here the what? The number itself, this increment, and then I put maybe the name that I want to print, Muhozi, like that. So I'm going to go ahead and run this piece of code. Open the terminal, clean the terminal, then go ahead and write .for underscore for loop dot, like that. So when I press enter, it's going to execute this, and we expect to see this name 100 times. Press enter. So you see, we're able to get it 99 times. So why 99 times? Because it's checked, is 100 less than 100? The answer is no. 100 is not less than 100, but 100 is equal to 100. So it became no, and then it stopped at 99. You get it, eh? So if I put here less than or equal to, so it will use the advantage of equal sign to reach 100, because 100 is equal to 100. So if I go ahead and run, so you can see it reached 100. It reached 100. Okay, so that is how we write the for loop. So it is a very, very, very important feature. This is just for displaying, but we'll use that for loop to compare a lot of things. Maybe you want the students who have paid school fees up to nil, and you have a list of 1,000 students. So what do? And if you have the list and you cannot access maybe the database in a way that you can write an SQL, you just have a list maybe from an API, and you want to display according to a certain condition. So you will need to loop. You need to loop other than checking one by one. You will need to do what? You need to loop. Our time is up. The next class we will finish the remaining loops. Then we'll look at the condition statements. we look at the else if, we look at the list if the time will allow, look at function, we'll get introduced to classes and the object-oriented programming in that. And if there will be 3 hours, I hope we'll finish, and then we'll be confident enough with that programming language. And in the next class to that, we'll be able to proceed now to Flutter programming while we are confident with the foundation that we'll have built in that. I will share with you the video and the resources that you may need to get started. All what I can say is, if you really want to know these things, just webereremu, and you'll be able to do it. Thank you, Dr. Drake. I submit to you, sir. If Dr. Drake, are you there?
I'm here. I was talking when my mic is muted.
Sorry. Okay, sir. I submit.
Okay, thank you, Barak. I think this is excellent. Just to wrap it up, can I ask students